One person asked, so I am answering. What is my debut novel about? If you came from my short, then welcome. And if you just clicked on this video because you thought it was interesting, then thank you. My name is Elena, I am almost 15 years old, and I'm currently writing my first published novel, Falling for the Fiction. It is a romance novel set in Alborn, Barcelona, and it follows the point of view of both Ray and Can. Ray is a romance author, and she has just had her big break. She just published her novel Beneath the Lemon Tree, which went crazy and super viral, and she has kind of finally made her scene as a author after like 12 years of writing. And Can has been a big writer since he first published his novel, his first novel 12 years ago as well, and he's just kind of always been famous and kind of like made his big break immediately. So because Ray has had her big break, she decides to go to Barcelona, which is where some of her dad's family lives, so she's always wanted to meet them, and her dad has always dreamed that she will get to kind of meet her family someday. And she also wants some more inspiration for her next novel, because with all the pressures of having a big novel and it going so well, she's kind of worried about writing a new novel and it not being good and having a lot of doubts. And Can, who is a mystery and fantasy author, is a local in Alborn, and he has obviously, like I said, been writing for a long time and has been a big writer his whole entire career, but he's starting to not enjoy it. Even the amount of fans he has isn't enough encouragement to get him to just keep writing. He's not enjoying the writing anymore, and all the pressure of the fame is starting to get him and making his career not an enjoyable experience anymore. And after a really down day that Can has, Ray walks into the cafe that his aunt owns, where he was at the moment, and she drops her money when she's trying to pay, and for whatever reason he goes and helps her. After helping her, he's like, there's no more seats left, why don't you come and sit with me? And so they go and they sit at his booth and they start talking. Of course, he will eventually asks her, well, what do you do for work? And she says that she's an author. At this point in the conversation, he realizes that she doesn't know who he really is and how famous he is, so he is starting to consider not even telling her that he's also an author. But then she asks him, what do you do? And he's just like, well, I mean, I write a little too. So of course she's like, would I know anything that you've written? And he is enjoying this conversation way too much, finally getting a break from being jumped on. He says no and doesn't explain further. So now the only person that Ray really knows is Can, so they start spending time together. Now this book goes back and forth between the present and then the past of their lives, because their biggest flaws all, like, they both have like a huge part in them as a person and how they've become as a person, and they end up leading up to kind of like in the end why their relationship doesn't end up working out. Not that the relationship doesn't end up working out, like, I don't know how to describe it. I guess you'll just have to read it to understand. And a big part in Can's backstory and flaw has to do with his brother. Well, one day Can decides, I'm going to impress Ray, and he takes his brother's car. Well, then when he goes to drop off his car to Adrian at the cafe, he sees Ray, and Adrian immediately starts flirting with Ray. So now Can is fuming because he's starting to have feelings for Ray, but his brother is trying to take her. And Ray is really helpless in this situation because she hasn't really had huge feelings for Can. But when Adrian is just continuing on flirting with her and then asks her for like her number, and she just is like, sure, and doesn't really think much of it. So now Can is mad. So when Can goes to drop Ray off, something happens that destroys their relationship. And then obviously eventually they heal their relationship, but it's a very dramatic and sad process, and it's so interesting. I mean, no, I'm probably a little biased, but anyways, I'm basically just describing the whole book at this point, and I want you to read it and not hear the whole book, but there's so much involved in it, and their past and their backstories have such a big part in it, that I think you should probably just go read it. So please subscribe if you want to find out more about my novel and when it comes out. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.